thought you'd gotten away with it, but no, I'm here with more persecution stuff. So the Armenian genocide continues. This is an article for anyone who wants to reference it by Raymond Ibrahim. I have his permission ongoing to use his material. And here we go. So yesterday, April 24th, was Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, and it marks this year 106 years since the start of the Armenian Genocide, when the Ottoman Turks massacred approximately 1.5 million Armenians during World War I. So most objective historians who've examined the topic unequivocally agree that it was deliberate, and it was calculated, and it was genocide. So according to the Genocide Education Project, more than 1 million Armenians perished as the result of execution, starvation, disease, the harsh environment, and physical abuse. A people who lived in eastern Turkey for nearly 3,000 years, more than double the amount of time the invading Islamic Turks had occupied Anatolia, now known as Turkey, lost its homeland and was profoundly decimated in the first large-scale genocide of the 20th century. At the beginning of 1915, as you'll all be aware as scholars of history or just people who went to school, that's during the First World War there were some 2 million Armenians within Turkey in 1915, and today fewer than 60,000. That's absolutely mind-boggling. Despite the vast amount of evidence that points to the historical reality of the Armenian genocide, eyewitness accounts, official archives, photographic evidence, the reports of diplomats, and the testimony of survivors, denial of the Armenian genocide by successive regimes in Turkey has gone on from 1915 right up until the present day. So that's, 106 years. Not only has Turkey repeatedly denied culpability for the Armenian genocide, which responsibility, it appears intent on reigniting it. Most recently by helping Azerbaijan wage war on Armenia in the context of the Nagorno-Karabakh dispute, which again erupted in late 2020. For anyone who's unaware, just as an aside, Armenia is predominantly Christian. So this is Christian persecution in my humble opinion. As Nikol Pashinyan, Armenia's Prime Minister, observed in October of last year, why has Turkey returned to the South Caucasus 100 years after the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire, that's in brackets, 100 years later, to continue the Armenian genocide? During this recent conflict that did not concern Turkey, Turkey funded and funneled Sharia-enforcing jihadist groups, in the words of the French President Macron, that had been operating in Syria and Libya, including the pro-Muslim Brotherhood Hamza division, which kept naked sex slave women in prison to terrorize and slaughter Armenians. Unbelievable. Among other ISIS-like behavior, these mercenaries and their Azerbaijani partners tortured beyond recognition. This is a quote. An intellectually disabled 58-year-old Armenian woman, oh my gosh, please Jesus help these people, by hacking off her ears, her hands, and then her feet before murdering her. Her family was only able to identify her by her clothing. Can you imagine, the absolute state that her remains must have been in? Okay, so Armenians, according to a December 2020 report, are being brutalised and have lost territory to their jihadist neighbours before agreeing to a ceasefire enforced by Russia. Prior to violating the so-called peace agreement, the Turkish Muslims of Azerbaijan did as Mohammed commanded in beheading Christians. That's a direct quote of the report. The report links to a video, which you will also be able to link to from this article, which I will link, of soldiers in camouflage overpowering a struggling elderly Armenian man to the ground before casually carving at his throat with a knife. Wow. Azerbaijan has accused Armenia of violating the peace deal first. The report continues. Who cares? But observers note the only provocation Muslims needed to attack Armenians is their continued existence. Wow. Anti-infidel rhetoric underscores this view. A captured terrorist confessed, and there's a link to his confession, that he was promised a monthly $2,000 payment for fighting against Kafirs in Artsakh, and an extra $100 for each beheaded Kafir. And for anybody who doesn't know, Kafir, which is often translated as infidel into English, is Arabic for non-Muslim, basically. Those who fail to submit to Islamic authority, which by default makes them enemies worthy of slavery and death. Similarly, Armenian churches that came under Azerbaijani control have been desecrated, despite promises from the authorities to protect them. In one instance, a soldier, unclear whether an Azeri or a jihadi mercenary from Syria or Iraq, was videotaped standing atop a church chapel where the cross had been broken off and triumphantly shouting, Allah, Allahu even, Akbar. Azerbaijani forces also shelled and destroyed Holy Saviour, an iconic Armenian cathedral, which was consecrated in 1888, but damaged during the March 1920 massacre of Armenians of the city by Azerbaijanis, and experienced a decades-long decline, unfortunately. More recently, according to a March 29th, 2021 report, over the course of just 2 weeks, so 14 days, 10 working days, at least 3 Armenian churches in the Nagorno-Karabakh region were recently vandalized or destroyed. How sad. By Azerbaijani forces, even though ceasefire was declared in November. Like, come on now. So video footage, which is, again, will be linked within the main link, of the desecration of one of these churches, shows Azerbaijani troops entering the Christian place of worship. I remember I did this in my roundup. Mocking, kicking and defacing Christian items inside, including a fresco of the Last Supper with Christ, obviously. Turkey's flag appears on the Azerbaijani serviceman's uniform, further implicating the Erdogan government of involvement. Don't get me started, seriously. As they approach, one of the Muslim soldiers says, "Let's now enter their church where I will perform namaz." And for anybody who doesn't care, but who doesn't know, namaz is a reference to Muslim prayers. When Muslims pray inside of non-Muslim temples, they immediately become mosques. That's another little aside, an interesting piece of trivia. In response to this video, Arman Tatoyan, an Armenian human rights activist, issued this statement. The president of Azerbaijan and the country's authorities have been implementing a policy of hatred, ethnic cleansing, enmity and genocide against Armenia, citizens of Armenia and the Armenian people for years. The Turkish authorities have done the same or have openly encouraged the same policy. By way of example, he said the Azerbaijan's president, Aliyev, proudly stated in early March that the younger generation has grown up with hatred towards the enemy, meaning Armenians. What an absolute charmer this guy sounds like. Such hate, which is a precursor to genocide, seems evident elsewhere and everywhere. One need only listen to a Turkish man rant in a video about how all Armenians are dogs and that any found in Turkey should be slaughtered for an idea of the impetus fueling this hate. Similarly, we see a video linked here to a lady who was asked if you could get away with one thing, what would you do? And she answered, "I would behead 20 Armenians." Another upstanding human. So much of this genocidal hate is unsurprising, considering that Turkish public school textbooks continue the demonization of Armenians. In fact, Christians in general and Jews, as one recent study found, and this is all again linked. So on Armenian Genocide Remembrance Day, it is, it does us well to remember not only what happened then, but also what is happening now and what is being primed to happen again. So please do pray for Armenian Christians. Pray for Armenians no matter what their what their beliefs, but just pray, because like history does repeat itself if you can manage to deny your way out of the culpability of the first genocide, you know, and that's just a fact of history, but you wouldn't know it if it's been erased. Please pray for them. More so, please pray for Azerbaijanis who are being indoctrinated into hate, and pray that the Lord would remove the scales from their eyes and they would see the truth, who is Jesus Christ, and come to know him and love him and receive salvation. All right, thank you very much for listening to my rant. Thanks again to Raymond Ibrahim, and I will see you all soon. God bless and bye-bye.